Hi friends, this is Terry Squires with Today's Nashville. I sat down with Bonnie King, founding member of First Call, and she shared her journey, her faith, and her music. You won't want to miss her episode. Are you tired of darkness and fear in your life? Let the light of Jesus lead you to a new day, a new beginning. She's just a native Nashville girl who has traveled the world reaching millions with her songs. Dove award-winning music artist, author, and founding member of the Grammy-nominated trio, First Call, Bonnie King's love for music and theater began at the age of 11. Before she could name the presence of God, she met him through music, and the Lord saved her in every possible way, calling her out of an abusive home, fear, and darkness. This is her story. This is Today's Nashville. This is Faith. Bonnie, it's a pleasure to have you. What an honor to share your story. It's incredible.
Thank you. I'm so honored to be here. I'm so glad you invited me.
I love when I read your story, 11 years old, you were saying that you met God through song. Let's talk about it.
Yes, I grew up here in Nashville. I'm a Nashville native, and I grew up in quite a turbulent atmosphere at home, and it was pretty chaotic and physically abusive in many ways, spiritually abusive, and I was a very scared little kid. I had a lot of migraine headaches by the time I was 6 years old, throwing up, just kind of a nervous wreck. I was always afraid of displeasing somebody and being punished for it. So I remember my first memory of God truly was him introducing music into my life as a very young child. I began to hear a melody. I would go over and play it on the piano. And then as I got older, by the time I was 10 or 11, I feel like God just reached down into my life using music and harmony and all these gorgeous sounds to say, there is something beautiful here. There is something you're going to discover of me that will be gracious. And I believe he saved me truly through music.
Well, was your family church-going family?
Yes,
or?
Very legalistic, very, I was taught it was wrong to sing about your faith on a platform or with an instrument. I loved the hymns I grew up learning and the harmonies that I learned as a child, singing a lot of a cappella music, but I was taught that pretty much God was a punishing God, and I was punished very severely by one of my parents. So I didn't know what God was ever going to be angry with me about or how to actually be loved by God. And I believe he first really introduced me to himself through the miracle of music. And then, of course, Christ through the years. But that kind of upbringing has informed my adult choices. And I've been through a lot of messy things in my life, but the Lord is continually healing me through all that. And I'm able to speak about it now, I think, more from a place of being on the other side of a lot of that pain.
So 11 years old.
Yeah.
You met God.
Yeah.
Did you ever wonder if God was a punishing God? Or,
Yeah. Oh,
and when did you realize he wasn't?
I think, like I was trying to say, like through the music, as a young child, I began playing piano when I was very young. I would play for hours. I came up with another name for myself that was kind of an alter existence in a weird way, for me to be able to withstand what was going on in my home and church. And it was like God was in that. God was in the music. God was in the calm of it and the peace of how it moved me. And then when I got older, I began to really study the scriptures and go, this is really not what I've been taught. This is really, when God is truly, I've always felt like God has always been saying, I want you to know who I am in spite of all that. So I never blamed God for the things that have happened. I've always felt like he's always taken me to the other side.
So after that time,
Yeah.
junior high, high school,
Yes.
when did you know that God was calling you into music?
Oh, I never really knew that till I got older. I just knew that that was my gifting. That was what I was good at. I started writing when I was young, started doing theater when I was in middle school, high school. I left home when I was 17 and traveled with a band on the road, singing in clubs and all kinds of things. And didn't realize it was going to be singing about my faith that God would lead me.
So when you were playing in the band, was it secular? Was it Christian?
Totally. Top 40 band, singing in smoky clubs, back then, 5 sets a night. And I didn't know there was anything I didn't know that you could sing and write about your faith until I started working with First Call and working in Nashville as a studio singer. And of course, that was a whole journey that just is astonishing to me, that God brought me into a whole life ministry of doing music that is about my faith.
So you were on the road, 17.
Oh yeah, like Doris Day, singing in little clubs.
What were your parents thinking?
I don't know, they just let me go. I mean, I knew I had to leave home at a young age to find my life. And they just kind of thought it was great. Isn't that weird?
Bonnie, when was the time when God just said, okay, I'm taking you to a different direction?
Yes. I mean, I think when I was 19 and 20, I started to really have a very visceral experience with Christ in the Word. And then I got into a community here in Nashville, Belmont Church, with Don Finto teaching about the grace of God, the mercy of God. And I met Marty McCall and Melody Tunney from First Call during that time. And I was on the road with Amy Grant and Russ Taff. I mean, I could see God was taking me into this unexpected life work that I'm just continually blown away by.
Well, First Call, Grammy nominated.
Yes.
And tell me about those times.
Yeah, I mean, we started out, Marty McCall, an incredible vocalist, tenor. We didn't know each other. He had been in Fireworks, which is a groundbreaking Christian rock band I didn't know anything about. But I was like, I like this guy. He and Mel Tunney, the alto, and myself were hired to sing quite a bit on other people's albums, singing backup. And we sang a lot of jingles and commercials. And we decided to pool all of our interests together and to try to market ourselves to get even more work together. So we called ourselves First Call, because that's the term that's used in Nashville for the first musician you call, the guitar player or vocalist. Kind of presumptuous of us, but we all knew that we all loved Christ, so we had a first calling in that way. And then, as very unexpectedly, we were asked to go out with Sandy Patty and sing on her tour in 86, 87, and we started getting record offers, and people loved the sound. And we're like, this may be something we need to really take seriously. So it was really an unfolding over a few years.
So how did the fame and that go with First Call? How did it change your life?
Oh, it totally changed our lives. I mean, we were nominated for Grammys and Dove Award winning, Best New Artist right off the bat. I remember singing at the Grammys with Sandy and being terrified. I'm like, what am I doing at the Grammys singing? There's Whitney Houston, and it was terrifying. We were really thrust into an amazing platform, really, if you think about it, to be out with Sandy at that point. The biggest moment in her career, we did the Carson show. We had just a tremendous introduction. And then we started doing our own concerts. So after that, we began to take seriously that God, for a while, we tried to do studio work at home and traveled, studio work at home and travel, and we had little kids. So we had to decide at one point, let's just focus on the ministry. So it really changed all three of our lives pretty dramatically.
It's amazing what God has done in your life.
Yes, it's miraculous.
And so you're out on the road, First Call.
Yeah.
Your life is
potty training my 2-year-old on the bus. Yes. Yeah.
And life is crazy.
Yeah, it was. It was pretty wonderful. It was wonderful. I mean, it was hard and a lot, because life on the road is kind of a struggle too.
Yeah. A lot of people don't realize how hard it is.
It's crazy. Traveling like that, it's crazy for your body, and
it's
wonderful. Just to get to the event, to do it, and then being on stage for 3.5 hours at night. It was pretty grueling, but it was worth it. So I learned a lot. It was an incredible training ground.
Well, we're going to talk more about the change after First Call.
Yes.
and some other events that have happened in your life, and we're going to talk about it when we come back. Bonnie, you were talking about how God pulled you out of the darkness, and you became light for millions of people through your music. First Call.
Thank you. Thank you. That's kind.
So what happened during those years? You're out on the road, blessing so many people, then God changed the direction.
Well, I think, it's hard to talk about the First Call story without getting into a little bit of what happened to us on a major tour with another artist and with a different alto singer, which was that the alto that came in had an affair with a very well-known artist in the biggest time in his career. We were on tour with him, and we lost everything overnight pretty much because the scandal hit the news. We were on the cover of, strange magazine like National Enquirer all of a sudden. And it was a very jarring time for me. I had gone through a divorce, and I was a single mom. And overnight, pretty much, First Call lost our record contract. Radio stations wouldn't play our records anymore. And we were trying to get our bearings again. And it was a real growing time for me. Again, God in his mercy brought Marty McCall and I into a season of recording as a duo after that. So we had 5 years with one alto, 5 years with another, and then 5 years with just the two of us. So through all that time, I think I discovered a lot that the Christian music business is an industry.
It is.
And not everybody's on the same page. And I think I naively thought everybody kind of was. So it was an eye-opening time, and it was a difficult time. It was a painful time to lose this beautiful woman that we loved in the group, and everything we had worked for was just gone pretty much overnight. So we started over again.
It's interesting you said it's an industry.
Yes, it is.
And you find out who your friends are.
You really do. You find out who they really are. And we did. We did. We were doing a project for Warner Alliance, and Neil Joseph, who's a dear friend, who originally signed First Call to our very first record deal, had moved from Word to Warner, and he signed Marty and I for this next season, which was really sweet of the Lord. But we had some artists that were supposed to be on that project as guest artists pull off of it because they didn't want to be associated with Marty and I, and we're like, we didn't do this. This is so, it was very strange. And I remember picking up the phone and just calling some of my friends, Amy Grant, Russ Taff, Ashley Cleveland, some artists that weren't on the project said, yes, we'll do it. And they actually came in and did it just to be generous to us. So God showed us his great mercy in those years and how he took care of us through all of that. It was very messy and hard, but life, that's what life is. And the miracle is that God teaches you and doesn't leave you where you are. He hangs on to you and moves you on. So that's really been my life story. I think it's everybody's life story that has faith in God.
Yeah, just learning betrayal
yeah.
and...
Oh, yeah, I mean, that's what broke up my first marriage. So when I saw these signs of that happening in the group, like the danger signs, I was like pretty vocal about, can we stop and talk about this and maybe get out of this situation before it blows up? And nobody wanted to do that. So I thought, oh my goodness, this is not working. It didn't work in my marriage, and now it's not working in my ministry. But, I'm continually looking at that and thinking, I never blamed God for it, thank goodness. I thought, this is humanity. This is the worst part of what we can do to ourselves. And Christ died to save us through that. So yeah, it was very eye-opening and financially devastating and all those things. I mean, it was kind of crazy.
Did you ever wonder what God was doing?
Yes, very much so. And I went through a clinical depression right after this. I really hit a wall of I was on the Young Messiah tour, huge tour, couldn't stop crying, couldn't eat. I couldn't get myself together, and I didn't know what was happening. And then I got home and I got some really good counsel, pastoral counsel, emotional, had a great therapist. I had some medication to help me get back on my feet again because I really was wiped out. And I thought, life can do this to you sometimes, but there again, God used it to teach me a lot.
And we learned so much in
the hard
our
way.
walk. Yes.
The hard way, yeah. Totally hitting the walls.
So after First Call, going out with the duel,
yes.
Where has God taken you since then?
Well, it's been really sweet because I wanted to do a solo project at some point. I have my fourth one out now, but I started recording my own solo projects and I started writing through some of my journals, which has been terrifying, honestly, because I'm still talking. I feel like God says, open your vein and let people know what's really happened as much as you can. I've been doing that as a solo artist now for about 20 years. So I've started doing conferences by myself. And when you write a book, it's so funny. People assume you're a speaker. And I'd never been to a women's conference, and I was asked to be the speaker at the conference. So I thought, well, I have a theater background and I love music. I'll share stories and songs and see how that goes. And it really has gone well. And I've found a lot of satisfaction in seeing me talk about my story help other people. And there's a lot we don't talk about in Christian circles, but I'm willing to just say, this is how hard this has been for me. If that helps you to hear God's grace in the middle of that, then that's part of the gift.
Now, when you were talking about when you were younger,
Yeah.
and your parents and everything that you went through, where are you now with that?
You know, it's really been a process of forgiveness, forgiving especially the primary parent, and realizing that I will not understand what happened in that person's life and where that pain came from. I've tried to get that parent to disclose, and it's not going to happen. But because I've been forgiven and because God has worked in me, I have to extend forgiveness. And that's helped me release a lot of that into God's hands, leave that at the cross. I honestly really believe, and I hope this makes sense, that when Christ died on that tree, he did that so that we could fall further from the dysfunctional humanity tree or whatever's in our own family. And that abuse stopped in my life. My kids were never treated that way. And they'll probably have a lot of things that they will complain out about. But it won't be that. That cycle stopped on my watch. It caused divorce. I married, I was drawn to people that were abusive because it felt normal. And that's on me too. But I've learned from it, and my kids will have a different story to tell. And I am so thankful for that, honestly, Terry. Very grateful.
Well, you wrote a song and singing a new song, Gethsemane Brave.
Yes, yes.
And when we come back, we're going to talk about it and the meaning and the story behind it. Bonnie, tell me about Gethsemane Brave.
Oh, I'm so glad you asked. Gethsemane Brave is a song I've been trying to write for years, and it's about what happened in the Garden of Gethsemane when Jesus 3 times said, is there any other way? Is there any other way? But if there's not, let your will be done. And I want to try to mimic that somehow in my life, because I think as a culture in the church, we often talk about what we believe God for in blessings, and we do, and all the good things, but we don't really talk about suffering. And I believe we're all called to some level of suffering. There's some cup in front of us. God, is this the only way? Okay, but if this is what you have for me, let me do this to your glory. So I worked on that song. I really wanted it, didn't want it to be a ballad. I wanted it to be a driving kind of anthem. And then Phil Keggy, this brilliant Phil Keggy guitarist, who's a dear friend, and never had played on any First Call projects or mine, came in and did these incredible guitar pieces on it. And Christian Solidarity International is a group that goes out and ministers to the persecuted church around the world, in Nigeria, Sudan, all over the world, where people are literally dying, Gethsemane Brave. And I thought, I want to live that way, and I want to call the church to live more like that. So I'm crazy about how the song came together. I really love it.
And you did a beautiful video.
Thank you. Yes, yes.
And we're going to take a look at it right now.
Fantastic.
Till I share in his sorrow, finally say I'll live and die. Gethsemane Jesus, in the mercy of a morning hour, his word runs through me with the promise of a saving power. He leads me quiet by streams of a living peace. He fills my longings, sets my restless spirit free. Will I trust in the darkness when it costs something more? Till I weep in the garden, pray as he prayed, drink the cup, taste like the grave, till I share in his sorrow, finally say, I'll live and die. Gethsemane brave, Gethsemane brave, like my Jesus. Gethsemane brave, like my Lord. Oh. He walked on water, he set the world on fire. Heart of the Father, to do his will is one desire. With demons raging, he bore the cross of shame, laid down his glory, and gave his life the world to save. His last words were for us, God forgive, they know not the way. Oh, unite them in spirit, make them till I weep in the garden, pray as he prayed, drink the cup, taste like the grave, till I share in his sorrow, I'm finally saved. I'll live and die. Gethsemane brave, Gethsemane brave, my Jesus. Gethsemane brave, like my Lord. Gethsemane brave, like my Jesus. Gethsemane brave, like my Lord. Gethsemane
Bonnie, that was such a powerful video.
Thank
What kind of
you.
messages do you want people to hear?
You know, this is my fourth solo project, and it's self-titled, because they say later in your career you could do a self-titled project that really has things you're passionate about on it. I'm passionate about having purpose in suffering and thinking outside of ourselves. I also have a song on this new album called Cry Like a Bell, and it's about raising awareness about child trafficking, sex trafficking, which is happening, you know, like the Epstein things and everything we're hearing now, we're very much more aware of. But as I become more aware of how many children are being abused and trafficked and destroyed, I wanted to write a song that says, let's be part of praying, let's be part of some kind of solution to this. You know, Tim Tebow, there's so many great organizations out there that are going out and rescuing kids, but I've been appalled at how much is going on right under our noses. So this song, it just paints a portrait of a little girl and a guy, you know, little kids that are waiting for somebody to cry like a bell in the night and pray for them to be set free. So, I mean, I've really had some pretty interesting things to explore on this album that have been really deeply in me for a while. And it's been part of the most satisfying part about recording and writing for this project.
Is it out now?
It is out. It's on all the streaming platforms, YouTube and Spotify, Apple Music, anywhere you like to find music, it's there. I have physical CDs on my website. People could order for the old school people. So,
Well, Bonnie, we have a few minutes left.
Yes.
What do you want to tell the audience?
Oh, I wrote a song on this project called God Will Love You for my 2 grandbabies. I have little 3 and 4-year-old sweet grandbabies. And I wanted to write a song they could listen to all of their lives. So maybe that would be, it's just God will love you. And it's like, it starts off when you're playing, but God will also love you when you're crying. He'll cry with you. He will be there when the sun comes up. He'll love you and he'll smile right into your eyes as the sun goes down. So that song has seemed to resonate with a lot of adults as well. So I think I would just say, trust that you have a God that loves you so, so much right where you are. And he will be there with you through this entire journey on this earth journey we're on together, and to hold on to him and to rest in that.
You know, that is so precious. From the age 11 when God
Yes.
was brought you into...
Yes, very good.
And what he's done, you have touched millions.
I
Bonnie,
hope so.
thank you so
Thank
much
you. It's
for
been
being
an honor.
on the show.
Terry, thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. My friend, are you going through trials and suffering in your life? Like Bonnie said, Jesus is right in front of you. Take a hold of his hand. He will never leave you. He will never forsake you. This is Today's Nashville. This is Faith. Hi everyone, this is Terry Squires with Today's Nashville. I have Amanda Jansen in the room with me, Sinner to Saint. Say hello.
Hey guys.
Can't wait for you to hear her amazing story, and she sings for us.